going to go ahead and start recording. We are recording this presentation for future application and for future use. So we want to let you know that that's our policy. Is we always try and keep a library set up, and we're on the process of setting up that process. So you'll be able to see previous week's presentations. You should be able to see the screen today with my welcome screen where it says welcome Bob Baker. Again, this is our Wednesday presentation, so we're going to focus on practical use of the website. I want to draw your attention to what this regular screen looks like. Also, I want you to know that we have a mobile version of the site, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go over to my favorites screen. Actually, I'm going to go here and go to my bookmarks. And if I go to my mobile site, this is a different look. So you'll notice this is our mobile site, and I can log in just the same way I do on the regular site. This is a different look. So if I go ahead and I log in this way, couple of points for those of you that don't like our little funny CAPTCHA. I'm logged right in and I didn't have to play with that funny little code. So this is one benefit of using the mobile application. Another, which I really enjoy, is the nearby function. So you'll notice I'm logged into my site. Very simply, this is used to use on your phone, but also on tablets, and I can use it on my desktop on my standard computer the way I'm doing it right now. So you'll notice that I can access my standard screen, but I can also access this one. Now, the nearby function allows me to see properties that are in different stages of foreclosure. I've got notice of default, trustee sale, sold properties, and REOs, so I can choose any of these. So if I want to see who's going to foreclosure in the near future, I can grab my notice of trustee sale option. Notice the arrow here on the left. And I can specify within 1 mile, within 5, within 10. Let's say I want to see properties within 10 miles of me. That'd be a lot of properties, I would assume. Now, you'll notice in this page, I see that I've got a map of 40 records, and you'll notice it says next 40 here as a button, so I can move forward through the next list. You'll notice I have a scroll bar here on the right, and again, this is designed so you can easily function on your tablet or your phone, but you'll notice I've got a map that I can go ahead and hit the zoom in option and then move my map around. If I have a touch screen, then I would be moving it around with the touch screen on my tablet or my phone. And you'll notice that this is properties within that range that I selected. And you'll see that this is 150 results here, and I've only got 40 at a page to keep the number of icons on the map reasonable from my application. And I can, of course, zoom back out if I want to give myself a little bit more distance. But if I zoom in, now I'm on a standard desktop, so I'm using my zoom in function. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is if you log in on the mobile application from where you are, at your desktop, let's say that you're in an office like I am right now in Huntington Beach. What I just did is I selected to isolate properties that are within a range of me at my office. So I can do the same thing in my car, and I can be able to isolate properties that are within a stone's throw. Now, the reason I selected notices of trustee sale, upcoming trustee sales, is that I can specify properties that I know people are at risk of losing it to the auction. Also, if I want to set myself a course of on-hand research, I can look at specifically properties that are local to me where I'm at, where I can get out there and look at a bunch of properties in a short period of time, whether I'm planning to go bid at the auction or whether I want to go make offers to people and buy the property. So this is our nearby function. I just wanted to show you that before we jump in and look at the regular website, because with this function, I can grab a property and let's say, I am, just so you know, our office is right near Bolsa Chica and Warner, so we're right here. So these are the properties that are nearest to our office. And here's one on Pierce Drive. Now, if I want to see what this property looks like, I'll click on the little balloon, and then I can select View Profile. I'm just waiting for that to open up. There we go. So now here's my profile, and this shows me where the property is. So Pierce Drive is right off of Bolsa Chica. If I zoom out a little bit, I'll see that it's in between Warner and Heil, about halfway through. Okay, so Pierce Drive is off of Roosevelt and Pierce. And now if I want to see what the property looks like, I can select my satellite view over here on the left, and then I can zoom in by pushing my little plus sign. So corner home, not a bad looking property. Now notice I can do my little change of view. So that's a nice looking home. And what we have the trustor is Van Trin, and the owner is the My Doe Trust. All right, so now I would assume that means that these folks have changed ownership for a reason that shall be determined. What it appears that we have is we have loans from 2004, and a third loan looks like a refi in 2006. Currently, it looks like 996 is my total. However, let's bear in mind that I'm seeing a zero for my second loan. Okay, so this particular property, I'm not sure if that's all there is to see in terms of what the loans are. I do want to see what the estimate of value is. So market value is about 1.2 million. They appear to owe about 1 million, but again, we're missing something in this slot right here that I'd want to know more about. So what we're going to do is we're going to investigate this property a little bit further. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use our single property search option on the main website. So I've got my my APN, my parcel number for the property right here, which is 146,621,62, and that's our parcel number. So here we are. Just a moment. I'm going to go up here now for purposes of the demonstration. I'm in Google Chrome, and that's my browser, and I'm going to select a second page to open, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to my main screen, and now I had logged in. I just want to make sure I get logged in again so I can go in here and do some work here, because I'm going to show you exactly what I like to do when I'm investigating. Now, I'm more familiar with doing my single property search on the primary screen. That's why we're going to do it this way. Now notice I have to go in and use this image here. And guess what? I got lucky. I actually was able to read it on the first try. Sometimes you might have a challenge with that one. If you ever do, just click on Change Image and you'll be just fine. Now, so we're looking at Orange County because I'm using the nearby function on the previous page. And again, I still have that open in case I want to go back to it, but we're using the same data files in both sites. Both of these are site websites based on the same data. It's just the interface is slightly different because that gray image interface that you saw there is more inclined for your tablet or your phone. Now I'm going to select Orange County, and I'm going to go ahead and type in that parcel number from the other screen. And we're going to go ahead and use the single property search to see if there's a history on that one specific property. Now, the reason I did that is because we were missing a piece of the puzzle, right? If I select this, now this is the record I was just looking at on the other screen. So we're going to open that up. Internet's a little slow right now, but you'll notice something else. This record has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That has about a dozen. We'll go back in just a moment. There are about a dozen records for that same property, and their loans are from 2004 and 2006. So these folks, it looks to me like they've been in foreclosure for a while. So now this is the same record as this one. Okay, same record, just a different format. Notice that I can turn around and get the same house, same record, same house, slightly different interface, but the same information. So you can bounce in between. Also, let me tell you this, up above this profile is a save button. If I save this particular record, I can save it and it will pop up in my saved folders on this particular website as well, because it's all the same. It's all joined up from the same database. Now, this particular property, what I was looking at is I wanted to find out if there is an answer to what that other loan might be. So now notice that this property has had a bunch of notices. Now what I had said before just a few minutes ago, I was starting to count it right when the screen changed. So notice I've got notices here and notices up here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this isn't a record, but it's close to it. I have a dozen records in my system on this one property. They've been in foreclosure pretty much since 2006. That could be a record. If you could stay in your house for 10 years without making a payment, I think you'd put a feather in your cap, wouldn't you? So these people are very good at what they do, but let's see if we can figure out what the other loans are. Now, notice what I just pulled up. They had an HOA assessment lien on this record. I am seeing that 875 loan from 04 and the loan from 2006 that we saw on this other profile. Okay. But I'm seeing now an HOA lien that had them in foreclosure in 2013. So these folks are, let's just say that they don't like paying other people, and they have sort of a pattern that they're demonstrating here. Now notice something else. I've got another loan here. Now notice something else. A couple of points here from when we do research on the website. This is a single property search, and it's going to include both notices of default record and notices of sale records. So notice these are notices of default. The reason I can tell you that is that there's a column for the sale date, and there isn't one. Okay, so whenever you have a record that has no sale date, that's automatically going to be a notice of default. If you have a record that has a sale date, those are automatically going to be notices of sale. Okay, pretty straightforward, but we want to make sure you get the point that if I have a notice of default, that's the beginning of foreclosure. If I have a notice of sale, that's the end period of foreclosure right before the auction. However, you can have multiple editions of both, especially if you have someone that's creative in fighting the process of the foreclosure like this family. These folks, it looks like, literally have been in default off and on for about 10 years, and they're still in the property. That is perseverance, and that's, I would call that a level of skill at not making your payments. Now also notice each of these records has a loan position and a senior junior loan column. The loan position designates which loan is specifically causing the foreclosure. So you'll see that some of these are ones, which would be the foreclosing first, but we have one here that looks like a second. So I want to open that profile up. Now again, that's indicating the loan from 2006. Now one thing I've seen as a pattern with these records is I don't seem to be seeing that there is a loan in that gap in that second position column. Everything seems to be the 875 from 04 and the 121 from 06. And this is going back. Now I'm going to go back all the way to 2006, and it's the same thing. Oh, that's interesting. So it seems like as soon as they took out their loan in 2006, these folks decided that they needed to stop making their payments. Obviously, we've got a situation here with homeowners that really are going to do everything they can to stay in the property without paying for it. Okay, now I got to tell you, when you're researching a property like this, you need to be aware that you'll find situations like this. Not a big deal. All it tells us is that we understand the nature of the situation. Now notice this most recent record from the notice of default is I'm showing that we have the 875 first and the 121 second. So we do see that we are having these same loans foreclosing, but I still have that open question of what to do here. Now, if you do your research on a property and you cannot figure out what's going on with a specific loan, that's why County Records Research is more than just a website. That's why we're here to give you answers to questions, and that's why we're here to double check our own research, because our researchers have literally researched this property. They've looked at this property no less than 12 times. And there seems to be a gray area as to what the total amount of loans are. That tells me you probably have an issue with clouded title, or at least there's an unanswered question that our researchers haven't been able to resolve. So now, if I ever have a situation like this with a particular property where I'm not certain of what's going on, then notice that above the map area and to the left of the bid option, the bid now button, I have a send by email option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this, and I'm just going to put it's from me because I know who I am, and I'm going to send this to Bob at countyrecordsresearch.com. I can I'm sending it to myself. You can send it to yourself too. This is a great way to remind myself that I've found a property I'm interested in. Now, I'm interested in this property because it's right near me, it's right near my office, it's right where I can go in and try and put an offer on the table. But I want to get a little better idea of what the loans are in play here and which loans are doing the foreclosing so that I can make an accurate assessment of what they owe. The main reason is if there's equity in this property, then I could possibly make an offer subject to the existing loans. If there's no equity, then I know I would be making a short sale offer. And if I decide that I'd like to buy it at the auction, I just want to have clear information on that the first is a first. Okay, now I'm going to make my note to myself to confirm all loans. Okay, real simple. Now I will do this with a call to a title company and ask for customer service, and I'm just sent myself that notation, and it's going to wind up right in my inbox in just a few moments, and I'm going to be reminded that I need to go ahead and check on this particular property to make sure I know that I'm clear on my loans here. Now, if I was going to go after this particular property, I might want to go by and see if the people are still there. I'm guessing they still are. It's a beautiful home. And I would probably act on the assumption that if I were to take this one through the auction, because they've been fighting the foreclosure for 10 straight years, if I was going to take this one through and buy it at auction, I want to make sure I get a good price, because it's very likely that after the auction, I'm still going to have some challenges in getting them out of the property. And that's simply because somebody that's a fighter is a fighter. Okay, you're going to find as you go out and you work your information that you're going to find some people are literally got into the house at the wrong place at the wrong time, and they're essentially going to be a pushover. And when you go to make an offer to them, you might get them to agree right away. Okay, if I make an offer and they agree right away, I'm in an opportunity to open my escrow. Some of these folks, you'll go to their house and they'll literally have the boxes packed. I don't think these folks have packed their boxes yet. Okay, that's just an opinion, but again, based on what we see historically, and then having looked at those different records, I can tell that I'm going to have to make a check with the title person to make sure that I'm clear on what loans are there and what loans are not. Okay, so now we found this particular property by using the nearby function on our main website, on our mobile website. Now, in this mobile site, once I'm in the profile, how do I get back? I just hit my back to nearby, and that put me back to my list of properties that I picked up using my nearby search function. If I want to get back to the previous page, I just hit the back again, and notice I'm right back at my main page that I came into right after I logged in. Now, if you've just joined us, it looks like someone just joined us, we're demonstrating both the standard site and our mobile site that has the nearby application. Now, as far as other applications, you have your standard search functions on our mobile application. You'll notice the buttons are a little different. They're a lot easier to work with in the mobile app. But as far as the functionality, it's very similar. Also, we have a little change in how this mobile app works with our single property search because I can set up my single property search just like I can on the regular website. But you'll notice that it looks different. And one of the cool things about this is that I can set up with my single property search. Let's just go ahead and take this parcel number off of this profile. I kind of like doing this, going back from one to the other.
Well, it's close
I can put my parcel number in, and I can hit search. And let's just see if it pulls up. Oh, my bad. See what it just told me? At least one county needs to be entered. See, this is why we make our website child friendly for people like me. So I'm going to select Orange County and hit done. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay, let's assume I'm not looking at a property over in Africa. No. Okay, just for a point of clarity, we're not the map guys. Okay, so if you ever see something like that, just take it with a grain of salt. These are all the records on that same property. Remember there were 12, right? Okay, search found 12 results. So again, pulling from the same database. So this is the map. Okay, and I can zoom in and get real tight. Now, normally when you do a single search, it's going to be tight like this, just like it was before. So notice, doesn't that look familiar? Okay, disregarded. If you ever see the little balloons out in the ocean, we're not buying sailboats here, we're buying real estate. So just bear in mind, sometimes the GPS mapping functions are off. And that's because sometimes when we get the data from the counties, there's either a variation on the APN, or the APN is inaccurate, or there's something that's a typographical glitch. And none of us can control the glitches. However, you're going to find that for the most part, you're going to find things exactly where you want them to be. And if you ever have something that doesn't look right, again, that's why you've got us. And you can say, hey, Bob, I need to find out more about this. Help me out here. So now, you can always email to Bob at County Records Research any properties that you have a question with. You can either put it in the body of your email, or you can send me the email just like I sent it to myself. And let's see if it came in yet. Okay, so now, see that property that I just sent myself? There it is, and there's my note, confirm all loans. Okay, so that's the record that I just sent myself. And so what happens is when we send a record to ourselves or to someone else, it pops up as that record, and then we can just open it up and check it out. Okay, so now I just did my single property search, and I've got my results, and I've got, like I said, the same 12. I can hit back, and I'm back at my search page. Now, whenever you go back to the search page, it's always going to take you back to the default, which is our general property search. Now, because this is a little harder for folks that are just joining us to see the methodology, we're going to go back to our main county records research, and we're going to go ahead and start as if we didn't jump in with the mobile site to kind of just get a good overview of how we navigate the website and how it all works for us, okay? So for those of you that are just joining us, just to clarify, we were demonstrating the mobile site. I still have that open over here. But we're going to go ahead and take a search and look at some Orange County properties. We're going to look at saving searches, and we're going to look at saving properties. So first of all, I just demonstrated the mobile site, and I just demonstrated using our single property search as well as the nearby function on the mobile site. Now, the single search is what we use when we're investigating a known property. So if I wanted to investigate that property on Pierce, I could type in the street number, I could type in the street name. I used the parcel number here before. I can also use the trustee sale number. So the single search is an excellent solution if I already know of a particular property, or if I have a target street. For instance, now I like the mobile function because it gives me the map in the single search. So if I was trying to find a property on a specific street and I wanted to see them all on a map, I would use the mobile site. Okay, if I'm trying to find properties simply in a target area, then I'm going to use my general property search. So I picked Orange County, I'm going to scroll down to my general property search. This is how we get started, folks. First of all, you'll notice whenever you get to this page, notice the defaults will be selected for you, and that's right here. Okay, now we have 7 choices in the choose one category in our general property search. So we can select upcoming sales if we want to. Now notice it changed slightly. When I pick upcoming trustee sales, the listed dates disappear and I get auction dates instead. That's simply because most people who are looking at upcoming trustee sales are looking to buy at the auction. Okay, so remember when I first set that search up on the mobile site, I was picking up upcoming trustee sales because I wanted to see properties that are coming up at the auction. So if I do this search right now, then I'm going to get all of Orange County for that period of time. Now notice I wasn't using that nearby function like I did on the previous search. So I've got a much larger list, okay? Because I've got 369 records versus that smaller amount. I had about 140 when I was using the proximity within, I think it was 10 miles of my location. So I had a lot more properties. Now, if I wanted to just limit my search to a specific target area, I could specifically type in the city box to the right of the word city here. I could type in Huntington Beach, right? So now that's one way I can narrow my search down, because 300 and something properties, that's a lot. That's kind of overwhelming. So now I can type in up to 3 cities. I can type in one here and one here. I can type in up to 3 zip codes if I want to go by zip codes, okay? I can also specify that I only want to see loan position of 1 if I only want foreclosing first. If I'm going to bid at the auction, that might be something I'd want to do. But I got to tell you, before you jump in and you start narrowing your search results, always be aware that we have a philosophy that less is more. The less criteria you put into your search, the more results you'll get. So you'll notice by just typing in Huntington Beach, I'm going to go from 369 to a smaller number. Let's see what I get. Okay, I went from 369 to 19. Okay, so what that did is it just took a huge number and it boxed it down to what is just Huntington Beach. Now that will include, of course, that property on Pierce. Let's see where they go. And there it is. Okay, so now that one, that's a foreclosing first as far as I can tell. Now, if I was going to bid at the auction, then I would be prepared to research this one further and make sure I'm satisfied with my information, especially, we're going to just open the profile here, especially if it looks like there's an attractive opening bid. Now, we can have an attractive opening bid for a couple reasons. First of all, because we might have a lender here that has decided that they're going to do a fire sale on this property, because guess what? What did we discover about this property on Pierce? They haven't made a payment in 10 years. Skillful, I call that. And it also means that these are folks that the lenders have had enough of. And so the lender very much wants to take this property to the trustee sale. Now, this is a notice of trustee sale record. For the purposes of the demonstration, again, we're in Google Chrome, so you'll notice up on top I've got tabs open. Now, this tab over here, that's for my mobile site. So you know what, I'm going to say, let's just ignore that for the moment. But you'll notice I've got my main page tab. This is my search screen. I've got my search results tab. This is my properties that I pulled up from my search. And then I have my open profile. This is the one that I've just opened. Now, whenever we open a profile from a search, you're going to have 3 tabs open. You're going to have your main page, you're going to have your search results, and you're going to have your property profile, because I just opened it up. Now, this particular property, as I said, I'm challenged because I don't know what that second is. I'm going to have to look it up. So I've sent myself an email to remind me of that at a later date. Okay. Now, in addition, this property is set to go to auction. So there's something else I'd like to do. I'd like to remind myself to remind myself. So I'm going to send myself a message by status change. Now, what this does, this is my status update. This is my foreclosure secretary. This is an automated function, you know, almost AI, because what this is this is allowing the computer to warn me of any change in the schedule. The sale's set for March 7th, so I've got time to do my research. And I'm going to notify myself of any status changes by selecting that option. So if the sale gets postponed again, I'll get a warning. If they change this opening bid, which they probably won't, I'll get a warning. If they cancel the sale, I'll get a warning. If they postpone it again, I'll get a warning. So I'm just going to send myself this message. Oops.
I think I have a glass of water right.
It's always helpful if you spell your email correctly.
Thank you so much.
Being a peek peck poker, I should be much better at this, but okay. Now, I've just put in my email under as a status change, and I've hit submit. Now, I'm automatically going to get an email notification if anything changes here. Now, a couple of points just to demonstrate that we know what we're doing here. Now, also look down below. I can put notes and I can add photos if I do a drive-by. But this property, we can already tell it's a beautiful home. I have a note here from someone. Oh, okay, Bruce has got a good point. If this is foreclosing first, why do we care about the second? What I was saying, Bruce, earlier is this. If I'm going to go make an offer, then I might want to know what's owed if there is in fact a second, mainly because I was just questioning on whether or not I would make a subject to offer if there's equity in the property, or if the place is completely upside down, of course, then it's a short sale. So bottom line is I was just questioning myself. Now it looks like they owe 1.1 on the first and 100,000 on what looks like a third. So it's actually they owe about almost 1.2 on the first. So we're real tight here. In fact, it's probably upside down as we speak without even knowing what that second is. Okay, but I have a personal curiosity, and since I'm seeing this one in our site and I know that it's been active for 10 years, this is a property that I want to be aware. So I sent myself that message because I, as a researcher for the company, I want to fill this void. Okay, that matters to me. Okay, so I'm going to figure that out and I'm going to fix that record, because the reason you work with county records research is that when we spot something that doesn't jibe, we fix it. Okay, that's the advantage of the human touch. Okay, because the computers pull all this information in, the researchers do some general research, but sometimes what happens is the title information, we need to get another opinion. Okay, so now what I want to find out is is this in fact a first? Okay, and for the purpose of bidding at auction, that's important. Okay, now if it turns out they bought the property before 2004, then that's a challenge to me. Now it looks like the place was built in 2000 and it looks like they bought it in 04. Okay, now if I hit my link over here at Zillow, now it says that it's scheduled to go to auction for that opening bid of 380. And notice it says auction, that's auction.com, and you notice the little advertisement here for auction.com. So I was going to point that out to you guys that this is an auction.com sale. Notice all these records, auction.com. They're promoting this at the auction. That's why we've got an opening bid of 380 when they're owed over $1 million. Okay. Now, I'm not checking Zillow for pricing. I'm checking Zillow for history. So the history tells me that they did in fact buy the property in 2004 for 1.1 million as a sold amount. And it looks like they were the second owner. It looks like the first owner bought it in 2000 for about 590. So it looks like somebody doubled their money. So that's pretty impressive. So these folks looks like they bought it for 1.1 million back in 2004. Okay, so I'm going to close that record out. So if they paid 1.1 in 04, is it possible that there is a second hanging out here for about 150,000 or so? I think so. Okay, and I'm just saying the reason I ask myself that question is if I'm going to pursue this particular property and make an offer, then I just want to be aware that there are in fact 3 lenders on this property. And if I'm going to make an offer, it's absolutely going to be a short sale because our system says it's worth 1.2. I am going to bounce over to Zillow and see what their estimate says now since I've brought it up. Zillow says it's worth 840,000. That's a big difference. Okay, now That's why we always double check our comps, because Zillow's got a comp at 840. Our system's saying 1.2. Now I've got to argue that this particular house is really pretty. And I've got to say that depending upon the circumstance, I'm not sure which one's the right price point, okay? But if you look at this home compared to the one next door, I don't know. I think this has probably got more curb appeal, but I don't know. I'm not the realtor. And that's where we always depend upon our knowledge of the market, our knowledge of the neighborhood, our knowledge of the location when we're determining what we think is the right price to pay. Now, if I determine that I do in fact have 3 lenders on the property, then I know my short sale is a challenge, because not only do I have to get this family to accept my short offer, I also got to get 3 lenders to acknowledge that that's an acceptable number for them to split between the 3 of them. Now, the family wouldn't get anything, okay? But they've lived in this house for up to 10 years for free. So they've gotten more than their money's worth, okay? All right, in fact, they've gotten someone else's money's worth. So it's definitely time they moved on, but it's a question of whether or not it's going to happen here on March 7th. Now, getting back to the fact that this is an auction.com sale, I knew that before I opened Zillow. And the reason I knew that is this location at 100 The City Drive in Orange, that's a hotel. And most of your foreclosure auctions are not held at a hotel. Most of your foreclosure auctions are held at a city public location, like a county building out front, a courthouse out front. In LA County, it's in Pomona, in between the city hall and the library, in a courtyard out front. So you're going to find for the most part that your auctions are going to be held in a public facility or a public location outside. If it's ever in a hotel, and you'll know by looking up the address, if it's ever in a hotel, then you'll probably be bidding at an auction.com sale. And if you ever see this 800 number, that's an auction.com customer service number. So now I knew that this was auction.com by spotting those things. I also knew that because the bank is owed 1.1 million, and the lenders decided to open the bid at 380,000. Now, who among you could recognize that if I'm owed over $1 million, I probably want to get paid close to that? You think? I think opening the bid at 380 is aggressive, would be a word. Foolhardy would be another word. Or in the case of auction.com, cunning like a fox, because they're advertising this on Zillow, they're advertising this on the internet. They will attract many people who think they can get $1 million home for 380,000 at the auction. Ain't gonna happen. Okay, this is going to go to auction at an opening bid of 380. There is a reserve. Now, for the purposes of this demonstration, just be clear, there is always the right of the lender to get every penny they're owed. So they can hold a reserve of this auction, a reserve bid price of $1 million, million 1.8 if they wanted to. However, they probably have a reserve of about 900,000. Okay, and I'm just ballparking that. We can never know for sure until we get there, but what we do know for sure is that the lender's going to open at 380. They're promoting the heck out of this online. They're going to get as many people to the auction as they can, and they're going to try and drive it up. Okay, if the bidding goes up to 1.1, the lender gets all the money. Okay, if the bidding doesn't go that high, then it's only going to go as high as it goes. And if it's high enough to satisfy the lender's hidden number, then you get the house. If the lender's hidden number is greater than the amount you bid, you don't get the house, and it becomes an REO. That's how auction.com runs their trustee sales, and every lender has the right to run their sales that way, although most do not. Okay, if you go at this location, you will see a few that will run just like that. Okay, so be aware if you go and watch this auction at this location on this date, that you will see this one go to sale if it doesn't get canceled or postponed by then. And if you use our status update function to send yourself an email, then you'll be notified prior to the event if it gets canceled or postponed. Okay, if it goes, then it'll depend on whether or not the lender has set a high reserve or a medium range reserve. I can guarantee you it's not going to be dirt cheap. and then then that will determine whether this property sells to a third-party bidder or whether it becomes an REO in this particular case. Now, this particular property, we already saw how to do a single property search to look the property up to see its other 11 records. Now, how do I save this property into my properties folder? Well, first of all, we're going to go ahead and we're going to say this is my save button. Next to that is my general folder in my window, and I have a drop down. These are my saved property folders, and you'll notice I've got one that I created that says Bob's Houses. So I'm going to pick Bob's Houses, and I'm going to save this property because I'm curious about this one. And again, I already sent myself a message to update the loan information to make sure it's accurate. And I also set up myself to receive updates automatically if the sale gets postponed or canceled. So I've already got some of my bases covered. I'm going to go ahead and save this to my Bob's Houses folder by hitting save. Now you'll notice what just happened. The save button's now gone, okay, because the option to save is no longer necessary. I've already used it. So now my property here has just been saved to my Properties folder. So let's just close that one out. Okay, notice now I'm back to my original search results tab, and I'm back to my main screen tab. I'm going to close out my results. What am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my Properties folder. Now, for the purposes of navigation, when we logged into the site, we selected property search, and that's how we got here. Okay. The left-hand side of your screen is your navigation toolbar. Whenever you jump onto the site, you're always going to find that this navigation toolbar is available to you. And I've got my property search option that takes me here. I've got my training and support option that gives me my various training functions. Foreclosure 101 is a really good article. It's helpful to give you a basic overview of the foreclosure process and how it works. Industry terms and definitions is a glossary, different things you might want to know. Free resources and links. You should visit that page just to get an idea of the various links pages we have. We have attorneys, we have various other insurance carriers. We also have links to clubs that you might want to go and attend, clubs that we do events at. Kurt has video training. And then we have our How to Use This website, which is a series of small little training videos designed to let you observe functions of the site similar to this presentation, but a little bit more focused on the specifics of how each application works. So if you see anything in the course of this presentation where I move a little quick on it because I've only got an hour to cover a lot of ground, you can always go back to How to Use This website and watch specific functions that are narrated by the demonstrator as he's going through and showing you the different things that you can do on the website. Now, below training and support is our frequently asked questions, which is like another glossary. And then below that is our forms page. And this is where we find the various forms that we use when we're out there working the marketplace. Whether I'm going to offer cash for keys, or whether I need to fill out a power of attorney for our bidding service, or if I need to write an offer. Now here's our real estate purchase contract and receipt for deposit. That's your most commonly used form to make offers on properties. Bottom line is this: when I make an offer, I'm going to use this form. Okay, if I make an offer on a property and it's accepted, then it's either going to be just going into the escrow with this form and this form only, or I'm going to need to use the form above it, which is called our equity purchase agreement, which is you're going to see some use for that, not as much as you might expect. But the purchase agreement is if there's equity in the house, it's their primary residence, it's the only place they have, and I'm making an offer to buy the property because I plan to rent it out to someone else or I plan to flip it. Okay, so notice they've got to live there, they've got to have equity. I've got to have gotten them to agree to sell me the property for less than what it's worth, because obviously I'm an investor. If I'm buying it to flip it, I'm not going to pay full pop. So all of these circumstances must fall into place. If they do, then the equity purchase agreement is my secondary form that I use once I'm getting my escrow open, because this is where we give them their notice of cancellation, 5 days to back out. Okay, and the importance of that is just so that you can state for the record, I didn't take advantage of Mr. Smith. I gave him his notice that I'm offering him $500,000 for his $600,000 house that he owes, say, $400,000 on, and I gave him the 5 days to cancel. Okay, bottom line is all this is you're covering your you know what, and you're demonstrating to everybody in the world that you didn't take advantage of Mr. Smith. Okay, if you're not sure how that works, then just be aware that you can call us and ask us about it. You can set up an appointment and come on into the office. The bottom line is don't worry about the equity purchase agreement today. Worry about it if you're in a good situation and you've gotten Mr. Smith to sign the purchase contract. Okay, once you get him to sign that, then worry about the equity purchase agreement, because you can fill it out in 5 minutes. Okay, now if you're not sure how to fill out the purchase contract, then down at the bottom here we have our sample real estate purchase offer, and I'm going to open that up. Now this is a PDF. It's been filled out for us, and this is how you fill out an offer form. Okay, notice I can scroll down. It's all been filled out. At the very bottom of the page is a property profile from our website. Okay, what we did is we took a property from our website and said, what if I wanted to buy this house from Mr. Hammett, and he has equity in the house and I'm making an offer. In this particular example, he had a boatload of equity, okay, a good $600,000 worth. So what we did is we made an offer subject to the loans that were there. We were going to bring them current, and then we offered him to write us a third. That's called a seller carryback. So this is unique in that we're taking over the loans on the property as they exist, and then we're asking the seller to simply give us time to pay them the balance of $435,000 when we sell the house. So we're going to buy it, and then we're going to sell it, and when we sell the house, then he gets this other $400,000. And if it takes us a while to do that, we're going to pay him $1,800 a month until we do. So this gives us, let's say for instance, I was buying this house and I was going to do fix up on it for a couple months and then put it on the market. Then he knows he's going to get his lump sum, which is a portion of the deposit after I paid off all my fees in my escrow. Then he's going to get $1,800 a month while I'm in the process of doing my rehab and my flip, and then he gets paid the balance of a little over $400,000. Okay, so if you ever want to put an offer together and you're not sure how to pursue it, this is a good example of how we write up our offer. But you can always contact us, set up a meeting and come on in, or simply call us over the phone and get an idea of how you would apply these same methods yourself. Okay, I got a question from Leslie. And if you're in your previous example, the people living there free for 10 years, would you then have to evict them? I got to tell you, Leslie, I'm thinking so. I would assume so. If someone's been able to live in a house for free for 10 years, chances are they're going to stay there for free as long as they can, you know, because they've already given up on their own credit, and they've already seen fit to pursue this avenue of staying in a property without paying for it for a long time. Obviously, they are going to do whatever they feel like doing. And, you know, folks like that have a tendency, I found through experience, they have a tendency to make outrageous demands, okay? Such as, oh, if you want me to leave, you got to pay me $20,000. Okay, I've had people say that they've had the people that have been living there for a long time for free say things like that. So, I mean, cash for keys, which is a method that we recommend, it works if the person says, yeah, you know, I'm broke. They have a real story. It makes sense. And what happens is they'll take $2,000 to leave because you're actually just helping them get back on their feet. I think these folks have saved so much money over the years, they don't need any help. Okay. However, again, I think, first of all, I got to tell you this, they probably have nicer cars than we do. And they're probably in a position where they got plenty of money set aside. Because if you hadn't made a house payment in 10 years, you should have plenty of money set aside. Okay, so in this particular case, I would think that as soon as you took this possession of this property at auction, you'd probably need to go through an eviction process, and you're probably going to have some rehab costs on the property. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay, because again, we're looking at a situation, we need to be straight about what's going on. If we're going into this as an investor, don't go in with blinders on, because you're dealing with people that have defined what they're doing. Okay, most properties will not have a dozen records in our system. I got to tell you that. Most people do not stay in a house 10 years without making a payment either. I will tell you that. That's an unusual circumstance, and that's why I'm telling you it's probable that the answer is yes. You'll probably have to evict them. If you do, then if you go to our resources and links page, we've got some good law firms that are on here that you can go to if you ever need to evict anybody. Here's Silverstein, here's Mankey. There are others, but these are two law firms that we recommend if you have to do evictions here in Southern California. Okay, just bear in mind, sometimes you have to. Most of the time you don't. Okay, most of the time, and this is why I got to tell you, some people prefer, if they're going to buy at auction, to buy an empty home. Some people like to buy multifamilies like Kurt does, where Kurt's made his bread and butter buying multifamilies, where he takes over a property and the people in the house are renters, or the people in the apartment building are renters, and there's no eviction because you're just taking over as the landlord and collecting the rents. Okay. Also, since we're on this page, you have your municipal codes that you can check and your comparables from Chicago Title. So you have a variety of information here. And if you know of any clubs that you're a member of that you'd like to get put on this page, then just remember we can always add more clubs onto this page. We're happy to do that. Okay. Now, again, getting back to our navigation bar, what was I going to show you? I was going to show you my properties. Now, right above Kurt's picture on the left is my properties. So if I select that, there's our property on Pierce. Okay, so here's the property on Pierce. This is the one that we're talking about. So since I saved it to my Bob's Houses folder, whenever I go into my Properties page, it's going to have all folders selected and everything's going to be visible, including the stuff that I put in it that were in my Bob's folders window. Okay, so now if I want to just check Bob's Houses, then I just go down here and I select Bob's Houses. Okay, so there's the Huntington Beach property. Okay, now here's one that I just put into the system last week that was a house that was going in Indio. And this one caught my attention because this is a $277,000 house, and the opening bid was only going to be around $48,000 because that was all that was owed on the loan, and it was a first loan. So that struck me as an opportunity, and sure enough, it went to auction. And at the auction, the final bid was $192. So I wasn't the only one who spotted that one. There were at least two people at the auction. And so somebody eyeballed this property, and when they got that opening bid of $48,934, they would have gotten that status update email. So now if they were using our site, that is. Now there are other people out there. So just remember, when we go to the auction, we may be the only one or may not. In this particular case, the bidding started at $48,934 and 92 cents, and it progressed. Obviously, it was competitive because it got all the way to 192,000 before somebody said, I quit. Okay, so the final purchase price was 192 on a house worth about 277. So this person's got about 90,000 in equity. Pretty good, pretty good. So now, what will happen at this auction on Pierce? We don't know yet. We know it's going to open at 380, but we know it's not going to stay there because, again, these people are advertising the heck out of it, and they're owed 1.1 million, so it could go up. It will go up. Okay, now on this particular property, I dropped it into the Bob's Houses folder. How did I make that folder? Now, whenever we open our My Properties window, you're going to find My Properties and My Searches work in conjunction with one another. So you'll notice that my Properties window also has a My Searches option. Now, if I want to manage my folders before I jump into my searches, I'm going to hit Manage Folders. Now, this is how I set up the Bob's Houses folder to begin with. If you go onto your account on the site, you'll notice that you have a general folder and no others yet because you haven't gone in and done what I've done. Now, notice I've got first TD buyouts, second TD buyouts. I've got Bob's Houses. We already know that one. I've got Downey, Hacienda Heights. So I've got different folders. I've got one that says hotels. I've got one for Long Beach houses. Now, let's say, for instance, I've been looking at properties. Now, I don't have a Huntington Beach folder, so let's say I want to make one. Now, notice that this section down here below. Now, when you open your My Properties page, this section will be all the way up here, okay? Because you don't have all these folders yet. So now, if I want to create a Huntington Beach folder, I just type in this little blue window right next to where it says Add Folder, and I hit Add Folder. Now, Huntington Beach drops right in alphabetically where it should belong. Okay, now it's not going to have anything in it because I just created the folder, but there it is. Now I've got a Huntington Beach folder. So now I've just added to my searches, properties, excuse me, folders. So now the next time I open up a property profile, I can drop a property into my Huntington Beach folder. So if I went in and I dropped it into a different folder, I could do that. So if I go to My Properties, notice it's now back to my main screen. I can select this Pierce Avenue property by selecting the little checkbox to the left of it. And look, I've got an option here. I can move it to my Huntington Beach folder. Okay, so now I just moved that Pierce Avenue property from Bob's Houses to my Huntington Beach folder. And now it's got a designated slot, and any other Huntington Beach properties that I pull up will be in that area. Notice it's still on my main page when I hit My Properties, because My Properties is showing me all folders. Okay, now on that note, notice I have my email notifications. Remember, I set up an email notification, and so I'm going to get notified on my email notifications as well. I also can set up text notifications. Okay, so now whenever I set this information up, I'm always going to get the information I look for by setting up what I want it to send me. Now, if I go back to my Properties and I select my property folder, or excuse me, select my property, I can confirm that yes, in fact, I am set up to get my email notification. Now, if I ever want to remove it from email notification, I just hit Submit, and now it's taken it off. Okay, if I want to add it back on, I can just go ahead and add it and type the information in. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and add it back in. Okay. So if I undo my email update request, I can set it back up again. Now, similarly, if I go back to my properties, let's say I've got a property in here that I don't want to necessarily keep anymore. Here's a property in Hemet on Stowe Road. If I want to get rid of that, I just check the box and I hit Delete Records. Now, whenever we go to delete anything, it's going to ask us if we're sure. Okay, and it's gone. Okay. Similarly, if I want to get rid of something in one of my notifications, now this is text. Some of you are text people. I'm more of an email guy, so most of my stuff I've saved here. So now, if I've got anything that I've saved in my email updates, let's say, for instance, I don't need to get updated on Mathau and Indio anymore, right? That one already sold. Same thing, on go ahead and hit delete, delete. Are you sure? I'm sure. Hit OK, and it's gone. Okay, so now this is how we play with my Properties folder. Whenever you're going in and doing updates or checking things out, you can always add things in, you can always take them out. It's designed to work with you and to be updated as you work with it. So as you're playing with the website, don't hesitate to call with questions as you're working with the different applications of the folder. Now, the other section of this page is My Searches. Now, these are searches that I've saved from the past. So whenever I set up a search, I can save my search based on what it delivered to me on the website. So if I have a particular search that I've saved on the website, I can go back to it. For instance, we were looking here in Huntington Beach, but I happen to like Fountain Valley. Here's my Fountain Valley polygon search that I used some time back that says Fountain Valley Notice of Trustee Sale Poly for Polygon. Now I abbreviate because we only have so many characters. If I click on this one and open it up, notice what it did. It took me back to my search page. It selected my county for me because of the search that I saved from before. It's got upcoming sales because that was the choice I made. Now, whenever I go back to a saved search and open it up, it's going to give me the standard date range that it would give me for sale notices. In this case, it's sales from now through 2 weeks in the future. I can modify that now if I want to set my search. Notice down below, here's my polygon. So whenever we set up a polygon search, we're using this map function that's down below our general property search. So there's my polygon for Fountain Valley. Okay, so this is the Fountain Valley polygon that I saved. Now, what if I say, you know what, that's all well and fine, but I want to set up a different polygon. So what I'm going to do, remember, I just opened a search by selecting a saved search, and that put me down to my search screen. And this is very similar to just going to the search screen, picking Orange County and hitting upcoming sales, except there's a polygon there that I can search right now. Now, if I hit search polygon, it gives me a record of properties that are in that same shape. They're inside the polygon, okay? If I want to go ahead and say, okay, that's fine, but you know, I need a different polygon. I need something different. Now, I can go over here on the right and I can hit clear map. My polygon's gone now, right? But I'm still in Orange County. Let's say I really liked that area around this Pierce house, okay? Remember, Pierce is right about here. It's right about there. So let's say I want to make a polygon around that target area. Let's say I really like it, and I'm going to go, let's go along Edinger, and let's go along Graham, and we'll go right below Warner. That pretty much targets my area, right? Except I've got a missing part of my box. And over here, I've got a button. Now, I got to tell you, when you're putting a polygon together, the hardest thing is connecting the last 2 points. That's why we have a button that says Close Poly Shape. Now, notice I've just created my polygon that gives me my area right around the Pierce area right here near the harbor. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit Search Polygon. And notice it gave me a couple properties right in that target area. Okay, so let's say I'm satisfied with that. I've set my polygon, but this isn't a saved search yet, is it? Right above where upcoming trustee sales is selected, right here it says save this search. I just hit save this search. Now it just memorized my polygon, it memorized notices of sale, and it memorized Orange County. And it gave me a window here to give this search a name. So I'm going to call this my HB for Huntington Beach Harbor NTS for notices of trustee sale. I'm going to call it my poly search. Right. So this is my HB Harbor NTS poly. Now, thinking about it, it's not exactly the harbor, is it? So I'm going to put this my HB Harbor in, because it's in from the harbor. Okay, so I know what it is. Okay, my HB Harbor IN NTS poly, and I'm going to hit save. Now, what I just did is I just saved my search with the polygon inside it, and I gave it a name. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go back to my Fountain Valley polygon, and there it is. Look familiar? Look familiar? Okay, now I'm going to go back to my searches, which is again right above Kurt's picture there on the left, and I'm going to hit that Huntington Harbor one that we just created, and there that is. Okay, now see how easy it is to go back to my searches, and now I can select one out in Long Beach. Here's a Long Beach search that I did. This is a Long Beach polygon for LA County South. Notice it gives me the polygon. This one was for apartments, and this was LA County South. Notice I can go back and I can select any of my searches. Here's a polygon for Irvine. There's Irvine, okay? And that one was just any type of property. Notice that I can select any type of property and save that along with my information. Also, I don't have to do polygons. I could have typed in Huntington Beach, Fountain Valley. I could type in a zip code. I can do up to 3 zip codes, up to 3 cities. I can specify my property type. I can specify 3-bedroom, 2-bath and above. If I go to my searches, here's my Palm Springs polygon where I have Riverside County selected. I have 3-bedroom, 2-bath and above. I have noticed it's a default for this one, and I specified single family residential. And this is my Palm Springs polygon. Okay. Now, when you go back and work with the website, remember you can always go to how to use this website. It's here below Kurt's picture. It's also under our training and support option. If you want to get a refresher on how I set up these various searches on this particular webinar. If you want questions answered specifically from me on how to do specific things, you can send me an email to bob@countyrecordsresearch.com. If you visit our seminar page, you can also go in and you can watch previous week's demonstrations by clicking where it says view last week's demonstration. Now we have a Wednesday that's saved that has a lot of today's information. We also have a Friday that's saved. Today we did nuts and bolts. How do I set up searches? How do I save properties? How do I save my searches? How do I get rid of saved properties? And how do I set up to get email updates on properties? On Friday, we're doing more or less chasing the deal. Now, it's just like we talked about that one property on Pierce. On Friday, we'll be looking at more properties like that, where we're looking at how do we go after and chase the deal on a property like Pierce. Now, what we're looking for are the opportunities. We're looking for the properties that have equity where we can make an offer subject to existing loans. We're looking for properties on their way to auction like that one on Mathau in Indio, where they got the property for a good $90,000 below market price by being prepared to bid at the auction and knowing what to do. Anytime you're reviewing property information, you can call us or email us and get clarification that your thought processes are on the right track. Anytime you're reviewing property data on the website, don't hesitate to contact us and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this on this particular property. Is there any reason you wouldn't do it this way? If you're pursuing a deal, we're not going to pursue that same deal. We're going to coach you through the process. We're proud when someone that we've coached goes out there and gets the deal. We don't go after that same property because there's plenty of fish in the sea. And again, we're not here to take your fish. We're here to teach you how to get your own, okay? Because the more opportunity that you make for yourself, the more properties you're going to buy. And most people come to us by referral. They come to us because somebody else found the opportunities through us, and they want to share that opportunity with their friends. So feel free, tell your friends about us, tell people that you know that haven't had a chance to work with County Records Research yet, that we're the company that will teach you what you need to know. We're the company that does webinars every Wednesday and every Friday. We do our field trips at the auction locations where you can meet Kurt and he can answer every one of your questions. We've got upcoming events in Las Vegas. We've got upcoming events in Los Angeles County. If you know of a club that does evening meetings and seminars and you want Kurt to present for your group, let us know. He's happy to do that. We just need to put that plan together, and then he'll do a companion field trip to the auction location so that everybody in the group gets a chance to learn what. This has been Bob at County Record Research. This has been our Wednesday How to Use the Website webinar for February 24th, 2016. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you Friday.